Hey everybody, we're going to be working on lesson 3, equivalent ratios today. Alright, so we're still working on the standard RP.1.1, which is to understand the concept of a ratio and use ratio language to describe a ratio relationship between two quantities. So we're at the learning target. We've already went through how to understand the concept of a ratio. Now we're wanting to use the ratio language as we started on lesson 2 to describe a relationship between two quantities. Today, I want to make sure that you guys develop more of an understanding of equivalent ratios by using tape diagrams to explore possible quantities of each part when given the part-to-part ratio. You'll also use tape diagrams to solve problems when the part-to-part ratio is given and the value of one of the quantities is given. All right, so go ahead and look at exercise 1. It says write a one-sentence story problem about a ratio. Okay, so this is kind of a refresher from the last couple of days. I'm going to go ahead and give you my example, and then the teacher will pause the video at this time and let you guys come up with your own example, and I'll also give you guys time to be able to share the ratios with the class that you guys came up with. Okay, so if I wanted to make a one-sentence story problem about a ratio, I could say the ratio of the number of sunny days to the number of cloudy days in this town is 3-to-1. I say, okay, so then it says, after that it says write the ratio in two different ways. So first I'd write my sentence out. The ratio, I'd say the ratio of the number of sunny days to, and there's one of our descriptive words there. It tells us that we're talking about a ratio. That's using ratio language. All right, so to the number of cloudy days sorry guys, is 3-to-1. All right, so that is my one-sentence story problem about a ratio. So this says write the ratio in two different forms. Well, I already gave you one, which is 3-to-1. So underneath there in that spot, I would rewrite that 3-to-1. And then my other way, remember we talked about this before, you could actually write out 2, and we have 3-to-1. So there's my two ways for the next part of exercise 1. Okay, so you go ahead and pause this video at this time. Let the class think of their own one-sentence story problems with a ratio, and make sure you write that ratio in two different ways, and then give you guys time to share as well. All right, so let's move on to exercise 2. It says Shawnee and Mel are using ribbon to decorate a project in their art class. The ratio of the length of Shawnee's ribbon to the length of Mel's ribbon is 7-to-3. I'll write 7-to-3 up here. It says draw a tape diagram to represent this ratio. Okay, so I'm going to start with Shawnee's, because that's the one they told us first. So Shawnee is 7, and Mel is 3. So I'm going to put an S for Shawnee, and I'm going to draw 7 boxes. Let's kind of fix this here. Okay, that wasn't very good, but let's try to fix that up a little. All right, that's a little better. All right, so that's Shawnee's, and then Mel is, I'm trying to make it the same sizes. I know mine are a little off, but it's supposed to show that each one of these boxes is equal to the same. So right now they're saying that the length of, or their ribbon, the ratio of the length of Shawnee's to Mel is 7:3. So we know it's length, so it has to be talking about, it could be inches, it could be centimeters, it could be meters, any of that. So if it's 7:3, so let's think about something different. This is when we're getting to those equivalent ratios. So if it's 7:3, what about Shawnee's ribbon is 14 meters? So what about that equals 14 meters? I'm gonna put an M here for meters. How long would Mel's ribbon be if Shawnee's, these 7 boxes, equals 14? So that means each of these is equal to 14. So thinking about 7 boxes equals 14, each one of these boxes equal what? I'm going to give you a couple seconds to think about that. Talk to your neighbor, talk to your group. See if you could figure out what each box would be and what Mel's would equal if Shawnee's is 14 meters. Because remember, our ratio is 7:3. What about that equals 14 meters? All right, so you should have seen that 7 boxes, if they equal 14 meters, each one would equal 2 meters. If each one of these boxes equal 2 meters, all the boxes equal 2 meters. Because remember, they're the same here. So that means if Shawnee's is 14 meters, Mel's would be 6, because that's 2, 4, 6 meters. And then we could look at that. 7:3. Is that equivalent to 14:6? Take a second again. Talk about that to your neighbor, your partner, your group. Talk about that real quick. Do you think that these two ratios are equivalent? Okay, so you should have seen that, yes, it is, because if you take that 7, what do you get when you multiply 7 times 2? You're going to get 14. All right, and if you multiply 3 times 2, you would get 6. So you multiply both by 2 to get 14 and 6, so that is equivalent. But let's look at something else here. Well, I'm just going to pull up the ratio. Since it was 7:3, would 21 to 9 be an equivalent ratio? I'll give you a few seconds. Again, discuss that. Do you think 7:3 is an equivalent ratio of 21 to 9? So think about, what do you multiply each one of these by to get, what do you multiply 7 by to get a 21? What do you multiply 3 by to get 9? Both of them should be multiplied by 3, so that shows they are both equivalent ratios because you multiply them by the same number. 7 times 3 is 21, 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, so go ahead and turn the page, look at exercise 3. All right, exercise 3 says Macy and Lainey ran laps to train for the long distance running team. The ratio of the number of laps Mason ran to the number of laps Lainey ran was 2 to 3. So we have 2 to 3 to begin with. So I'm just going to go ahead and write this down. All right. A says if Mason ran 4 miles, how far did Lainey run? Draw a tape diagram to demonstrate how you found the answer. Okay, so we have the ratio 2 to 3 for Mason to Lainey, and it wants us to draw a tape diagram. It tells us Mason ran 4 miles. So how am I going to figure that, how much Lainey did, and what am I going to put in this tape diagram? Am I going to put a tape diagram of 4 for Mason, 4 boxes? Take a second, think about that. How many boxes should be for each one for Mason and Lainey? All right, so we should put 4 boxes for Mason. Our initial ratio is 2 to 3. So Mason should have 2. And Lainey should have 3. Then I'll do it. All right. Well, it's supposed to look a little better than that because you want to show that they're all, the boxes all equal the same thing. All right. So what they're saying is these 2 boxes for Mason need to equal 4. Well, what is 4 divided by 2? Okay, obviously that's 2. All right, 2 plus 2 is 4. That's 2 boxes. So if each one of those boxes are equal to 2, that means each one of these boxes are also equal to 2. So if Mason ran 4 miles, that means Lainey ran 6 miles. All right, and let's see if 2 to 3 is equivalent to 4 to 6. So 2 to 3 here. All right, think about how we figured out if they were equivalent before. And I want you guys to talk to your partners or to your groups and determine if this is an equivalent ratio. If 4 to 6 is equivalent to 2 to 3. All right, so yes it is, because obviously you guys can see that all you do is multiply each side by 2. 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 2 is 6. So those are equivalent ratios. All right, let's move to the next part, part B. All right, we still have the ratio 2 to 3 for Mason to Lainey. All right, so Mason had 2. Lainey had 3. All right, so now it says if Lainey ran 930 meters, how far did Mason run? Draw a tape diagram to determine how you found the answer. I'm going to give you guys a hint to go ahead and draw what I have on this whiteboard right here. And then I'm going to tell you that we know these 3 boxes, it says Lainey ran 930 meters. We know that this equals 930 meters. So at this time, would you please pause the video and see if you guys can figure this out on your own about what each box would answer and how determine how far Mason ran. All right, so pause the video at this time, please. All right, so the way you should have solved that is you should have taken 930 and divided by the 3 boxes that are right here. So you'd say divided by 3. Okay, 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract that, we have 0, bring down the next number. 3 goes into 3 one time. 1 times 3 is 3. Subtract that, we have 0. Bring down your 0. All right, 3 goes into 0 0 times. 0 times 3 is 0. And I'm left with no remainder, but I have my answer. So that means each one of these are equal to 310. So if each one of these are equal to 310, each one of these boxes for Mason are also equal to 310. Let me erase where I did all this division over here so we have some room. All right, so now I know that Mason's boxes each equal 310, so now I just need to add them both up to figure out how much he ran. All right, 0 plus 0 is 0, 1 plus 1 is 2, 3 plus 3 is 6. So Lainey ran 930 miles and Mason ran 620 miles. All right, so then C says, what ratios can we say are equivalent of 2 to 3? Well, we know, so we had 2 to 3 to begin with. And then it said if Mason ran 4 miles, how far did Lainey run? And it ended up being 6. And we showed that multiplying both sides by 2 would make it equivalent. But we also know that these two are also equivalent. So we also know 620 and 930 are equivalent. But all you could have done, you could also went, okay, 2 times 3 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9. As long as you're multiplying both by the same number, besides that both having 0, you're going to have an equivalent ratio. All right, so let's move on. Exercise 4 says Josie took a long multiple choice end of the year vocabulary test. The ratio of number of problems Josie got incorrect to number of problems she got correct is 2 to 9. All right, so we got 2 to 9 now. All right, so then it says if Josie missed 8 questions, how many did she get correct? So it wants you to draw a tape diagram to demonstrate how you found your answer. So I'm going to put an I for incorrect, and we know that's going to be 2 boxes. And then I'm going to put a C for correct, and we're going to need to do 9 boxes, and we'll see. Oh, that's going to go with my wonderful drawings. Okay, so there's 9. No, they're not perfectly symmetrical to all of them. It should be, so just pretend. All right, so it says that she missed 8, so that means her incorrect should equal 8. If these 2 boxes equal 8, what does each box equal? All you have to do is 8 divided by 2, and that would be 4. So she missed 8. Each box, if each one of these boxes equal 4, remember they're all the same, that means every single one of these boxes equal 4. And you don't have to put 4 in each one of these things. We know there's 9 boxes in all. Then you just multiply it by that number, 4, or you just count up 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, or just multiply 9 times 4, and you would have 36. So her ratio was 2 to 9. They said, what about she had 8 incorrect? How many would she have correct? That would be 36. And you can see if 2 times 4 is 8, just like 9 times 4 is 36, showing that that is an equivalent ratio. All right, so look at the next one. It says, what if Josie missed 20 questions? How many did she get correct? And I want you to draw another tape diagram like this. I'm going to see if I could just erase this. Oops. Erase this and keep that tape diagram. I'm terrible at drawing them. So go ahead and draw another one with 9 and 2 for correct and incorrect. Oh, shoot. I still messed some of it up. All right, so now it says that the one she missed is 2 to 9. That means this is equal to 20. So she missed 20. And if you would, please pause the video at this time, because I want you guys to actually figure out how many did she get correct. If this equals 20, what does each box equal? And if those two equal that, remember they all do, and figure out how many she got correct. So go ahead and pause the video at this time. All right, so you should have seen that if both equal 20 for incorrect, both boxes, each one equals 10. All right, so if each of these boxes equal 10, that means every single one of these boxes for the incorrect, I'm not going to fill it in with the number 10 as well. I'm just going to write 10 times 9. Since there's 9 boxes and all of them equal 10, that'll tell me I had 90 correct. So you should have had 20 to 90. And you'll be able to see that is equivalent to 2 to 9. That's pretty obvious. Since it's 2 to 9 and 2 to 90, you just multiplied both sides by 10. All right, so good job for all those who figured that one out. Let's move on to part C. It says, what ratios can we say are equivalent to 2 to 9? Well, obviously 20 to 90, and we also know you could multiply it. The other one we did was 8 to 36. So there's 3 right there that we know from just this question that are equivalent. But you could also multiply. You could have said 2 times 3 is 6. 9 times 3 is 27. So there's another one that's also equivalent. All right, so what's another one? It says come up with another possible ratio of the number Josie got incorrect and the number she got correct. All right, so let's say instead of getting 20 incorrect here, let's say it was only 10. If she only got 10 incorrect here, this equaled 10. How many would she have had? If she had 10 incorrect, how many would she have had correct? So think about that real quick. If her incorrect equaled 10 instead of 20, how much would each box equal? You multiply whatever that is by 9, determine how many she has correct. All right, so these two boxes is equal 10. Each one is 5. And then you can say 9 times 5. And so here's one more example. You guys, you can pause the video at this time and let them come up with other examples as well. You can make it however many you want on making it incorrect. And remember, we just do the same thing. That's just a little bit of practice. So it would have been 10 to 45 for that ratio. And of course, that would also be equivalent because you multiply both sides by 5. All right, so E says, how did you find the numbers? And for the numbers for that one, we just multiplied. Oh, that's what it's asking. We multiply both sides by 5. What I just actually showed you, this is part of E. How do we find the numbers? We multiplied the ratio each side by 2. We multiply, or by 5. We multiply 2 times 5 and 9 times 5. All right, then F says, describe how to create equivalent ratios. All you had to do is multiply both numbers of the ratio, just like you see right here, where both sides are multiplied by 5. You multiply them by the same number. It could be any number you choose. I could have made an equivalent ratio here by multiplying both. I showed you multiplying both by 3. We've done 5, 2, 10. You can multiply it by any numbers. I could say, let's multiply on both sides by 7. I would have 14 to 63. All right, I could also multiply both sides by 100. Make a bigger arrow here. As long as you're multiplying by the same numbers, it's going to be equivalent. So 2 times 100 is 200. And 9 times 100 is 900. And 200 and 900 is also equivalent to 2 to 9. All right, so you're going to be working on your problem sets. So those are pretty easy. Go ahead and turn to that. I'm going to go over a couple, and then you're going to be able to work and just finish this review for the rest of it. All right, so the first one, I just want to make sure I go over this. It says write 2 ratios that are equivalent, and this is number 1 on problem set. Write 2 ratios that are equivalent to 1 to 1. That could be about anything. All right, look at just 2 to 2. Well, both of that simplifies 1 to 1 because you can divide each side by 2. And you have 1 to 1. Simplifying them just like you simplify a fraction. 100 to 100. That also simplifies, dividing each side by 100. That simplifies 1 to 1. 50 to 50. All of those. Same numbers is 1 to 1. Number 2 wants you to write 2 ratios that are equivalent, 3 to 11. Remember, all you need to do is multiply both sides of that ratio by the same number, and you could have multiple answers there. Okay, look at 3A. 3A says the ratio of the width of the rectangle to the height of the rectangle is, and all you had to do is count, okay, how many squares is the width? 1, 2, 3, 4. And oh, sorry. How it says, sorry, the ratio of the width. The width is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares. So you have 9 for the width. The height is 4 squares. So your ratio there would be 9 to 4. But part B to that question says if each square in the grid has a side length of 8 millimeters, what is the width and height of the rectangles? So there, all you had to do is multiply both sides of that ratio by 8. Pretty simple. All right, number 4 says for a project in their health class, Jasmine and Brenda recorded the amount of milk they drank every day. Jasmine drank 2 pints of milk each day, and Brenda drank 3 pints of milk each day. Write a ratio of the number of pints of milk Jasmine drank to the number of pints of milk Brenda drank each day. And then it wants you, so that one's really easy, where it was, just a simple ratio, and then you'll make a tape diagram with it. And then you can just build with that tape diagram, just like we were doing in question, which one was it with the test questions? Exercise 4. All right, so those are relatively simple. I know you could get that, work with your partner, your group, and then If you need to, raise your hand if you do get confused on a problem, and your teacher will come around to help you.